The following episode may contain sensitive material, including descriptions of violence, sexual assault, or graphic descriptions of injuries to victims. If you feel you may be triggered by such material, please consider this before accessing our content. To access trauma counseling or services, please speak to a trauma specialist.
It felt like fireworks behind your eyes, you know, right there. It feels like it started boiling.
In 2014, we had the first possible proof of delayed post-mortem scavenging.
Some people think that shiny objects attract lightning.
My name is Hennis. I'm a teacher here at Helpmekaar College. And on 13 March this year, 2020, I was struck by lightning here on the fields here by Helpmekaar. I was coaching javelin on the fields here. The rugby boys were also practicing here. And we've got apps at Helpmekaar, lightning app. So half an hour into the practice, I heard this ping and I looked. The lightning was about 11 k's away, so we kept on practicing. And then about 5 minutes later, I had a second ping, and I saw that the lightning was about 9 k's away. So I ordered the boys from the field. So the boys left, and I told the two girls to fetch their javelins in their shoes. Let's go, because I'm worried about the lightning. So the girls fetched their javelins and shoes, and the one girl was walking with me across the field back to the pavilion. So as we walked, I asked her to give her a javelin. I was scared of the lightning. And about halfway through the field, everything just went pins and needles. And the next moment, everything just went black, and I woke up on the grass. My head was feeling if it was cooking. I was checking on the girl next to me. She also went down but stood up. So we went over, came over to the pavilion, sat down there. Luckily there was first aid people. They was busy with a course here. So they checked our vitals, especially our hearts and stuff, and everything was fine.
Let's understand how we can be prepared or understand whether lightning is in the area or not. Now, there are many different ways of doing this. I think we've all heard that siren on a golf course. This is what we call an electric field detection unit. This will sound an alarm based on a particular electric field condition. And that is normally an indication that it's time to seek shelter, and there's enough time given to find that shelter. The other mechanisms that we can use, as simple as watching a weather radar, for example. If you can see a rain or a thunderstorm cell moving towards your area, and certainly something like the South African Weather Service will give you advanced warnings about bad weather. That is another avenue that we can use. Or alternatively, there are these sort of detection apps on a cell phone. My advice is, if in doubt, necessarily rely on one detection mechanism. Use one or more if possible, and also use a healthy dose of common sense. So if you've got someone that knows the area, there are certain cues that would indicate that it is safe or unsafe. Particularly in areas if you can't see what is happening around in the area. Some places it's great, you can see the rain coming, you can make a plan. Some places we don't have that luxury.
I phoned my wife, and she came and fetched me. But as I was sitting here and waiting for her, my body starts to get stiff, especially my fingers. They were getting stiff. So I went to the doctor, they did some more tests. Luckily there was no other damage and stuff.
South Africa has about 25 million lightning ground strikes per year. One must see this as 25 million gunshot wounds coming from the sky. That is how dangerous lightning is.
Obviously, the day it happened to me, it was so surreal because we were walking, the next thing we're lying on the floor, the next thing we're up again. And obviously with that big sound and the thunder and everything, actually nobody actually realized what happened. Normally I'm quite a joker, so normally I do pranks and make jokes. So as we walked and I fell, I think most of the people on the pavilion thought I was making a joke again. So only afterwards when I got here, they started realizing, but the lightning struck me. So they sent me some WhatsApps and asked what happened and strongs and all that stuff. So yeah, I'm lucky. The girl that was with me was fine. She had a stiff neck, but nothing else, because she was on my left-hand side, and I think the lightning struck came from my right-hand side, so she was a little bit protected. So she had a little bit of headache. I phoned her mum afterwards, but she was fine.
A common question is, well, when do we need to start worrying about lightning? Now, that is quite a difficult question to answer, and I think generally accepted within the international community is anything closer than 20 kilometers is already at quite high risk. So one can debate that. If you want to be safer, you can talk about 50 kilometers. It really does depend on the event, how many people are involved, how long it takes to clear up the event and all that. So often it's not as simple, there's a magic number that you can apply. This is why you need to think about these things in advance. You've got to apply your mind to what the risks are, what the activity is, how long it takes.
So afterwards, as protocol from Help Mekaar incident, the lightning incident, we had to check all the data on the lightning on that day to see if the warning systems were in place on the app and on the system at school. And at that specific time, I think it was 3:45, the incident happened, and we went and checked on the data there, and there was, on that moment, the nearest lightning was 20 k's away. So it just shows you it doesn't matter where what the data says, there's always lightning, is always a danger, especially the second wave of lightning.
Even though I'm a human forensic pathologist, I've been involved in a surprising amount of animal-related lightning cases. The first case involved a stuffed mounted sable head. With regards to the stuffed mounted sable head, an insurance company got hold of me to determine if lightning really did kill a sable antelope. According to the available history, a sable antelope was found dead in the field. The owner apparently had slaughtered the sable and gave the body to the local workers for food, and he apparently sent the head for stuffing and mounting to a taxidermist. A veterinary pathologist and myself were consulted to determine if this was in fact due to lightning. The first thing we did was track down the stuffed mounted sable head. We examined the head and found a ruptured eardrum. Lightning ruptures eardrums. The second thing we did was track down the South African Weather Service lightning network detection system data to find out if there was in fact lightning on that day. And indeed, there was lightning on that day. So by means of the South African Weather Service data, the freshly ruptured eardrum of this mounted sable head, we determined that death was in keeping with lightning strike. One of the most unusual cases I had involved a thoroughbred racehorse. This case happened in a small coastal town in South Africa. What happened, according to the history, was the following. I was contacted by an insurance company, and according to the insurance company, a thoroughbred racehorse was discovered dead on the 7th of January 2008. The horse was last seen alive on the 31st of December 2007. So in other words, the horse was found dead 7 to 8 days later. When we examined this horse, we found signs of skeletonization. And we actually managed to determine that this was probably not due to lightning, due to the fact that the time since death was not possible. The horse looked like it had been dead for at least 3 weeks to 3 months. There were no large predators on the farm. Lightning does not cause skeletonization, and this crispy critter myth is what it says, a myth. Lightning does not cause incineration of humans or animals. After death, the body goes through a process of decomposition, and this field of examination is called thanatology. Thanatology is the science to determine time since death. Forensic pathologists use thanatology to determine how long a body has been dead. There are early postmortem changes and late postmortem changes. And this field has created textbooks, many pages thick, to determine how long something has been dead. It's a super speciality, thanatology, the time since death. So when a body dies, the body will start to decompose. There are early postmortem changes such as autolysis, rigor mortis, lividity. But after a while, the body starts to decompose and one gets putrefaction. One gets early putrefactive changes and late putrefactive changes. If one looks at putrefaction, one gets the stage of green putrefaction, which is probably weeks old. And then one gets the stage of black putrefaction, in which the body may be months old. After that, one gets the phase of butyric fermentation, where the body has a gorgonzola cheese-like smell. This is also 3 months to 6 months old. After that, one may get mummification or skeletonization or adipocere formation. Time since death or thanatology is a super speciality in forensic pathology. There was no way that this advanced stage of decomposition could have occurred within 7 days. Furthermore, this racehorse was insured for a vast amount of money. And eventually we determined that this was a possible case of fraud. Another fascinating case happened in 2014 outside Palabora. Whenever I've spoken about lightning around the country, farmers usually approach me after my talk mentioning a very unusual phenomenon called delayed post-mortem scavenging. According to these farmers, when animals get struck by lightning, there is delayed post-mortem scavenging. In other words, vultures, hyenas and the like will not touch the lightning-struck carcass immediately after death. And for years, I took this as myth. In 2014, we had the first possible proof of delayed post-mortem scavenging, and this was published in the journal Vulture. What had happened was a giraffe got struck by lightning, and vultures found the carcass immediately after death. However, the vultures only started to feed on the carcass about 5 or 6 days after death. The reason why this happened, we do not know. Oftentimes, vets get called for the death of whole herds of animals. One gets called for the deaths of large herds of cattle or sheep or elephants, and one wonders why these animals died. The differential diagnosis is usually lightning, hypothermia, or poisoning, and one has to differentiate these cases. Obviously, if it's hypothermia, there would have been records of cold temperatures the night before. If it is poisoning, one may find diarrhea, or the animals may be scattered around and be dead, and one can see signs of poisoning. Whereas in lightning, these animals go to ground and drop in the situation that they are. And the reason these animals die is due to the fourth mechanism of lightning injury, which is known as EPR, Earth Potential Rise. Lightning travels through the surface of the ground like ripples on the surface of the water. And due to the fact that the animal's legs are spaced far apart and there is the heart between the legs, there is a potential difference between the front legs and the back legs, and this goes through the heart, and the whole herds of animals will be wiped out by lightning strike.
So we often get involved as engineers when lightning is blamed for things. So there's a fire, there's an incident, there's some damage. Often it's easy to say, oh, it was lightning. I've found this work fascinating. It's a bit like solving a puzzle. It's joining bits and pieces of evidence together and bringing the science together to try and work out, was lightning in fact the probable cause? We can never, in some instances we can absolutely say with certainty. In some incidences it's a matter of corroborating evidence that would make it clear that lightning was the likely cause or not. Remember, of course, these, I don't know that horse, but some of these animals, you're talking millions of rands worth of livestock. It's a real financial thing.
So after the incident, I'm much more aware of the lightning, I can tell you that. Even at home, when the lightning comes, I'm making sure I'm not outside. But yeah, there's protocol, so we need to follow that. So if lightning is 9 km away, we normally take off the kids. So.
Some people think that shiny objects attract lightning, that there seems to be no scientific basis for that belief, but lots of people believe that you should cover up mirrors, for example, during a lightning storm, because they think that shiny things like a mirror can attract lightning.
It is unknown how this myth with regards to the mirror and lightning occurred. Remember, lightning is illusionary. In other words, when it strikes, people do not know how close or how far it was at the time of strike. It is so bright, it is so blinding. For example, everyone thinks that lightning is just a spark coming down from the sky, and one sees it against the horizon. However, lightning is actually a 3-dimensional, tortuous spark which comes towards you, away from you, towards you and away from you. That is why when one sees lightning on the horizon, one may get beading, which is a superimposition of lightning upon itself, and it appears that lightning has beads in it. So lightning is illusionary. One does not know how far or how close it was when it struck. People will tell you lightning struck right here. Meanwhile, lightning could have been 500 meters to a kilometer away. It is so blindingly bright that one has difficulty explaining how close or how far it was when it actually struck. The reflection from a mirror will give one also a perceptual problem, thinking it was actually closer than it was due to the light reflecting.